Okay, so if you go back here again, let me just do one more time. I removed the border, but just put here Joe Black. Joe Black. JB. Okay. And then okay. So when you submit the data, it's all here. I want to show you how you can actually add see if we can do this one or not. You can add additional properties to your constructor object, and that can be applied to other objects as well. So for example, while keeping this as is, I'm going to create a new object right in here just to test so we can see it, because we know we have one, the users has two objects inside it, right? User is an array. It's not an object of the user class, it's just an array. Okay? But I can do a var, let's call it maybe person is equal to new user, and I'll apply some default values. The name would be like Jake. Wait, I don't know. The user will be JLKE, and then the password is Apple1. Okay, so the person is an object of user. This is the same as the users of 0, right? Just using the index of the array instead of the actual object itself. But user 0 is the object, person is also an object, user 1 is also an object. So I put a 1. So all three objects in here, they have their own data. So if I go in here and add in, let's just say users of the person dot, I'm going to add a new property which is not part of the original function, right? So user, I could say age is 25. Okay. Now if I type in person, you'll see that age has been added to the object list, the property list, whereas the other two still have their own default, just 3 properties. So you can add additional properties to your object, and they're completely separate from the other objects. Okay, so what that means is if I go in here and let me just clear this, it will still be there. Here's the user 0, user 1, and person. So person has an extra property called age. If I want to get the user 0 dot age, you see that I get it undefined because it's not there. It doesn't exist, right? So only person has it. And if you decided, you know what, I want to apply age to all of them. Okay, if you do that, then you can actually modify the actual function of the constructor to add that to the constructor. Once that's been added in the code here while it's running, all the objects that has been instantiated will get those automatically. Okay? So let's just say that I have, I'm going to go ahead and add to the users, the original function, probably our user would have, right? That's this one here, right here. So user dot, and I use this keyword called prototype. Okay, so prototype allows you to go back and modify your original function and then add a new property to it. Let's just say by default, it's going to take the value of 20. Okay, so now if I type in user 0, that gets me only those 3 properties. It's not listed there. but it should be also accessible within the user itself. Like if I type in age, you see the age has 20 now. Okay, so it has the property age attached to it, even though it's not listed inside the list here. And then user 1 also has that value too. So it takes the default value. So from here on, I can say age1 is equal to 25, and user 0 age is now 33. Okay, so now they've been added to the list, and so all other objects that has been instantiated earlier on also have this new additional property or properties. It's pretty cool, right? Yeah, it's really nice. Not only that, if you delete it from the original property, what will happen? What do you think happens? So if I say, right, so we could say, let's go here, but the user delete a user dot age. I remove the age from that original list. Now if I type in age for 1, what happens? It's still there because initially I assigned the user.age to it at a value already. So they still retain their original values. Okay. So if I go back and go back to the property, let's just add another variable called let's just say gender. Okay. Let's just say F, and then now users gender will all defaulted to F. Okay. Now if I go back and delete the user gender, it's gone. Just to show you that it's going type of user, you'll see that it's no longer here. It's not listed. And then if I type in the user one.gender, see that's still retained. Okay, so they retain the original, a copy of that, even though you move it from the original function. So it's pretty interesting. Okay, any questions so far on what we did so far about classes and objects? Just remember that this is a constructor. You just have to know the syntax. Okay, there's no other way to do it. Syntax always.
To maintain referential integrity, do you then have to cycle through all the users to remove particularly you wanted that attribute off?
Yes, remove from each user. Yes, because they're completely separate now. So you can do a loop through that, and then. So if you use the array for the users, that's easy to do. But if you have like 10 separate users and they have different variables, then that's something else. But yeah. Okay, so this is a constructor here. This is another way that people would like to do instead of just having this with the function name. You can also use the anonymous function to create a constructor too. So I could do something like instead of this, I could say, I could put like var user is that, and then use the anonymous function. Okay, either way is fine. And well, you want to use the capital U here. Okay, so I use var equals function, and you get that, or I use the regular function, and you get. You call that. But when you reference it, it's still the same because this is a variable name that it's pointing to a function, so I would still get that as is. Okay, so both ways. Constructor, use it this way if you want to just declare a variable called programs. Okay, empty program. Usually this is using the object constructor, okay, which is provided by JavaScript by default if you do it this way. If I put, because I'm not using my own, I'm using what the built-in. Whereas if you do with the var users 2 is equal to new user, I'm using my built-in function. Okay, so either one. So that's the empty constructor. Also here, notice that I don't have to pass any parameter here. It's not required. Okay, it's optional. If you put a lot more than they have, so here I have 3 parameters. If you only put 2, then this will be undefined. Okay, if you put more than 3 here, then it will truncate all the other parameters. In other words, I put like here, put like A, B, and then C, and then if I put additional whatever it is, all these will be ignored because it only takes 3. Okay, it's very flexible in JavaScript, which is really nice. And if you want to make sure that even though I don't have anything here, you can put some default values in here. Then you can modify this, and let me to say if the name is blank, right, or it's undefined, then take a default value. Otherwise, take the value that's passed to it. So how do you modify that? How do you check that the username, the name here is not empty or it's not blank? Because if you do it this way, if I run it, it's going to have a undefined for the name. If I do it this way without any parameters, right? If it doesn't provide any parameters, you want to give a default value. If I put like default value, if I do this, then if I pass any parameters, how am I going to get the data to the name? Right, so you can check it so that name is not empty. And one way to do that is really easy in JavaScript, very simple, is you check for the name. If the name is, that means if the name is either it's null or if it's not, it's undefined, then use the default. Okay, same thing here. If it's undefined or null, then use default value. So this is how you do that in JavaScript. So you don't have the issue of running into an undefined situation or no value. So you can say pass 1, 2, 3. Okay. So if I save this, bless you. If I save this, and I'll go over here. Okay, if I type in user 2, you see that it has some default values because they are null. I didn't supply any for the user 2. If I put like a var u is equal to new user, right? No value passed to it. I get u is those default values. Okay. If I put var t is equal to new users, I put the first one t. Okay. If I type t, the other two gets default values. The first one is applied to because I passed one parameter. This is very flexible. And if I wanted to omit the second one, then you have to say var s is equal to new user. Let me like C, and then this would be like null, and then I put here password will be like street. Okay, and then because it's null, it's going to take the password of 1, 2, 3 here. Okay, so you can see that another password of the username. It's very flexible in JavaScript. And again, just to show you one more, I put var x equal to new user apple b 1, 2, 3 put 1, 2, 3 here, and then A, B, C. Okay. So you can see all those are ignored. The 3 parameters are not part of it because they are just extra. So really nice. Otherwise, you run this in Java, it will crash, right? Because you have more parameters than you needed. So I mean, there are ways around it, but usually that will crash. So if you want to add, so right here, if you want to add a function in here, you can say this show what? Let's say show salary is a function. You have the anonymous function. In here you can say return, I don't know, let's just say 80K. Okay, so add that at 80K. And if I go here again, refresh my page, so the new function is added. Type in var x, that's fine. Okay. So x is that. If I type in x show salary, you have 80K. Okay, so this is how you assign a function into to a property in here. You can use the anonymous function, or you can have the function outside of it, a named function, in the reference that. Say function calculate or show, just show salary. That's fine. Return maybe like hours times rate, right? You can pass the parameters here if you want. So hour rate. Okay. Then in here I could notice if I do here, if I say show salary, a little bit tricky in JavaScript. If I do this, let's just say 45 hours, and then that's $25 an hour. Okay. If I do that. So it should return that times that result back. And if I go over here and refresh my page, again var x is equal to that. X has some data. You'll see that it has its salary already added here. It shows the result of 1125. Because if I put a paren here, it executes right away. Okay, so a little bit tricky when you have a function inside like this, and you call that function either the anonymous function or another function outside of it this way. Because how do you pass the data to this function? It takes 2 parameters. Okay, so if I do it this way, it's going to call right away and to get the value here. So if I want to say x dot show salary, okay, notice I don't have to call the paren anymore. If I do x dot show salary, the paren, I get an error. Okay, because I'm calling a function twice. Okay, so just be careful how you do this. Sometimes you would do this way, it's fine. Sometimes if it doesn't work, you have to do it this way. You have to say, you have to wrap this inside a anonymous function like this. Say function here. Anonymous function, I call this function inside the anonymous function. So I put show salary, I pass the hours, and then if I do it this way, I call it inside the anonymous function to call this function outside of it. So it's different. So if I go x here again, okay, so x has those. Notice the function is not in here. X dot show salary. If I just do that, it will give me the function definition, right? If I do this, which is normal, then I get the result. Oh, I didn't do return here somewhere. But just show you that sometimes you have to do this way just to pass the parameter over to the other function and back. Oh, here, yeah, I have to really return this back because this is a function. I have to return this back to the show salary here. So I could do like return that function back really. Maybe that's what it was. I mean, you don't have to worry about this. It's not going to be an exam. I'm just showing you. So this is a little bit deep stuff. So I just want to show you how that's done. So again, here x dot show salary. That gives me the definition, and if I call it, it returns the total back. Okay. So it's just that the function has to return the value back. But in this case, you have to pass. If you want to pass parameters, then use the anonymous function and then pass that to an outside function and then back again. It gets confusing, but sometimes there's no other way.